All right, let's talk real estate. A massive lawsuit was supposed to completely shake up the industry, right? Lower the fees we all pay. But here we are over a year later, and, well, things look surprisingly the same. So, what's going on? Let's dive in. And that really is the big question, isn't it? I mean, this was a landmark settlement. It promised more competition, lower costs for anyone buying or selling a home. So why are those commission rates still so stubbornly high? It's time to unpack this. Okay, so to really get why commissions haven't budged, we've got to rewind a bit. Let's go back to the promise that was made over a year ago. A huge settlement was reached, and it was specifically designed to change the entire game of how real estate agents get paid. The whole idea, the core of it, was to decouple the commissions. See, before this, the seller's agent and the buyer's agent would just split a preset commission. The thinking was, hey, if we separate these fees, if we make them independent, it'll force buyer's agents to actually compete on price. And that competition, well, that was supposed to drive down costs for everybody. So, that was the theory. Sounds pretty good, right? But the reality? Well, it's telling a very different story. Despite all these new rules, it turns out the old ways of doing business are, incredibly hard to shake. Just how hard? Well, a brand new study from the Consumer Policy Center found something, honestly, pretty shocking. When their researchers called up buyer's agents, they all asked for a commission rate between 2.5% and 3%. And I don't mean most of them. I mean every single one. And how did they get this data? This is great. The CPC had their researchers go undercover, basically acting like mystery shoppers looking for a home. And what they discovered was this widespread refusal from agents to even talk about negotiating their fees. It's like the system wasn't just stuck in neutral, it was actively slamming on the brakes. And you won't believe what they found. The study showed agents were falling back on these old, kind of misleading scripts. They were telling buyers, oh, don't worry about my fee, the seller pays for that, which is exactly the practice this whole lawsuit was supposed to eliminate. It's wild. So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? The rules changed. So why are agents still reading from the same old playbook? Let's break down exactly why this big promise change has totally stalled out. It's not just one single thing you can point to. It's more like a perfect storm of inaction, a whole bunch of forces all working together to keep that old commission structure locked firmly in place. And researchers are pointing to three main culprits here. First, there's something they call litigation fatigue. Second, you've got a distracted DOJ. And third, all of this has led to a pretty emboldened industry. Let's tackle these one by one. So first up, litigation fatigue. Think about it. After that huge, long, and costly legal battle, the lawyers who actually won the case are just tired. They're exhausted. Researcher Stephen Brobeck puts it perfectly. He says a lot of them are basically thinking, you know what, I'm done with that. So the motivation to file even more lawsuits, it's pretty much gone. Okay, so at the very same time, you've got the main government watchdog, the Department of Justice, and, well, they're a little busy. They're bogged down with other huge legal fights, which means they're paying way less attention to what's happening in real estate. And that leaves a pretty big gap in enforcement. In fact, according to that same researcher, Stephen Brabeck, it looks like any DOJ initiatives that were focused on real estate brokerages have basically ground to a halt. And when there's no pressure from the top, you can bet that has a huge impact on how the industry behaves. So you put all these pieces together and it creates a really tricky situation. The industry might feel like it's in the clear for now, but this resistance to change, it's actually making it super vulnerable in the long run. It's almost like a ticking time bomb. Think about it. By just refusing to change how they handle commission negotiations, the industry is basically rolling out the welcome mat for future lawsuits. All the core problems that led to the first lawsuit, they're still there, which means more legal pressure is pretty much guaranteed to come back around. Which all leads to this really important question. If the lawyers are burned out and the regulators are looking the other way, who's left? Who is going to drive this change? If the industry isn't going to fix itself, who is? And that brings us to the big finale here. Because the answer to that question, it might be a lot closer than you think. Turns out the real key to breaking this whole commission standoff lies with the very people the system is supposed to be serving in the first place.
And we can hear it straight from the expert himself. Stephen Brobeck says it plainly. With no real legal or regulatory pressure, the responsibility, and maybe more importantly, the power, it's now got to be consumers. That's right. If you are out there buying or selling a home, you're not just a customer in this system anymore. You are now the main driver for change. The power to actually create that competition we've been talking about, it's literally in your hands.
So you're probably asking, okay, what do I actually do? Well, Brobeck lays out a super clear 3-step action plan. Step 1, interview at least 2 or 3 different agents. Don't just go with the first one. Step 2, state right up front, just so you know, I will be negotiating your compensation. And step 3, and this one is absolutely crucial, negotiate a specific dollar amount for what they'll do, not a percentage of the home's price.
Now, this isn't all on consumers, to be fair. For the really good, ethical real estate pros out there, this is a massive opportunity to step up and lead. They can be the ones to stand out from the crowd by proactively educating their clients and even other agents about how things are supposed to work now.
And that's really the crossroads the entire industry is at right now. Will it choose to get ahead of this, to proactively educate everyone and embrace the change? Or will it just stick with business as usual, basically just waiting for the next legal battle to hit? The answer to that question is going to shape the future of how all of us buy and sell our homes.